For some families in the city of Pacific, a flooding nightmare has happened not once but twice in the past 17 years.
This morning, we take a closer look at the problems plaguing the community on the King-Pierce County line, where hundreds of homes flooded in December. Farah Jadrin is here in the studio with us this morning. So Farah, apparently government leaders had a lot of time to act, but not enough was done?
Right, Mimi and Jake. In 2009 and again this past December, floodwaters swallowed this part of Pacific whole. And the people who live here want to know why leaders didn't do more to keep this from happening again.
In the early hours of December 16th, hundreds of families woke up to banging on their doors, emergency crews urging them to evacuate immediately.
And so I called 911, say, what do I do? And they came out with a boat.
The White River was raging after about 9 inches of rain fell during an atmospheric river system. Temporary HESCO barriers placed in the city of Pacific were breached.
The first thing I heard was water gushing.
At 1 in the morning, Misty Walker, her husband, their 1.5-year-old child, and their dog were evacuated through ankle-deep water.
The footage gives me PTSD.
This frightening experience isn't new. During heavy rains in January 2009, a planned water release by engineers at the Mud Mountain Dam was too much for the White River to handle. These floods prompted the current HESCO barrier. Stacked materials, the mayor says, are aging fast. The warning signs of another severe flood have been there ever since.
They've been ignored for 17 years. We knew that this was a problem, and for 17 years we've done nothing to fix it.
David Strossley bought his Pacific home in 2008. He has deja vu.
And I kind of panicked. I froze like a deer in the headlights, and my wife just got to work. Got the stuff up we needed, got us out of the house, and the rest is a year of waiting to have your house rebuilt.
Rebuilding then and now, Strossley says the bill is roughly the same both times, about $90,000 and counting, much of it covered thanks to flood insurance.
About a minute and a half after the alarm, and the water was already at our front door. A lot of our neighbors either didn't get the alarm or didn't believe it any more than I did. And their cars next day were floating around the street. So
the mayor says the root of the problem is the river itself. Decades of development have choked its channel. What was once 300 feet wide and 14 feet deep, capable of handling 20,000 cubic feet of water per second, is now packed with sediment and islands rising above the water line.
Physics and math tell you two things can't occupy the same space at once. So if you need water to occupy this space, we have to remove the solid material.
When the flood barrier breached, the water had nowhere to go. King 5 was given exclusive access to view the newly dug trench as workers further secure a secondary containment wall. But it's eating up half a road and the parking lot of a nearby apartment complex. It's somewhat of a band-aid in a city that's been living on temporary fixes for nearly 2 decades. And Mayor Cave is already anticipating more problems.
$300 million for a 50-year fix, and then we create that risk of having a river that flows above the city, and then if that ever breaches, now how much damage could that do? Our job is to protect lives and property of the constituents we represent. It's their taxes that pay for the work that has to get done to protect their homes.
King County's environmental review is ongoing, and I also reached out to FEMA regarding the flood maps for this area to find out if updates will be made to include more properties and land. The agency within the Department of Homeland Security is currently impacted by the partial shutdown, so I did receive a response, but they said the information I'm looking for is going to be delayed.
That's interesting. So how would those FEMA maps affect the families there? How could it help them?
Well, if you don't live in a floodplain, you're not required to include flood coverage in your home insurance policy, and you also don't qualify for the National Flood Insurance Program. That program is available to property owners, renters, and businesses. I'm also waiting to hear back from the governor's office for updates about the type of state and federal relief that all flood impacted communities, not just in Pacific, but all across Washington, could be expecting in the coming months.
It'll be a big change. Glad you're following this. Thanks, Farah.